It's good. I'm gonna just let this bitch roll again. Of course, I'm always in my fucking car, just sitting here. Drinking Kool-Aid. Alright, so, like, I don't know. A lot of shit is, like, rushing through my head lately. A lot of old knowledge I've gained. A lot of, like, I don't know, just a lot of different things. And it makes me, like, really think about the lack of communication we have as people. What's good, Oliver? I feel like as a society we don't talk enough about serious things. I feel like our conversation is like dumbed down almost. I feel like we aren't able to get to the bigger problems in life because we can't even get through a simple conversation about like how we're feeling without arguing. like the way I see it is like a math problem. Let's say if you're trying to solve a math problem that none of you know how to solve individually, but you each have a piece of the puzzle, right? Like one person knows how to add, the other subtract, the other divide. If these people can't necessarily explain themselves in the proper way to let another person understand where they're coming from, what piece they have type shit, you'll never be able to solve the problem. So to scaffold that into society today, into like things like abortion, things like fucking immigration, any type of political policy you can think of, any type of like construct, any type of idea, any type of thought form, you can break it down like this. You won't get the right frame of mind. I mean, you can, but you wouldn't really understand if it was the truth or not. You'd know it as your experience, but you won't really have the right frame of mind to solve the problems of the world if you don't conversate with other people in the world about these problems in a way that you understand each other's positions and can move forward with whatever you're saying. So it's like the further and further we go down this trap of being distracted, or this trap of like letting people know what we think and not listening, we'll just go towards mass mental illness. I'll call it like a mass hysteria, but it's really going to be a lot of people being super egotistical and like just super, I mean we probably already see it now, like a lot of narcissism. Literally our president is the biggest narcissist in the world. Like, this place is Babylon, bro. And the longer it takes for us to find that language that we all can speak with, the longer it will take for us to solve these problems, like abortion, like immigration, and like, I don't want to say anything controversial because I don't want to get fucking canceled before I even get shit started, but it's good. But yeah, it's like we don't function as a society, but we think of ourselves as a society. Like we tend to think of ourselves as citizens. Yeah, that means something different to each and every person, and it's like we can't even that means something different from me and you as people who live in this country to fucking Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump who have run this country, or who do run this country. Sounds like you've been thinking about this for a fat minute. Of course I have. I think about a lot of things. I think about what's necessary. I think about shit that people don't want to think about for the sake of understanding, gaining this wisdom, and then pushing it out to people. Like, what's good? Niggas from fucking New York and this bitch was good. But yeah, I like to. I mean, I don't really like to. It's not like I go out of. I do sometimes now that I've grown up and like come to grips with a lot of these things. But growing up for me, it was like I would have these thoughts about random things, like in school, like why the fuck are we sitting down listening to this teacher when they're not even too sure about what we're learning, type shit. I'd have these thoughts and I wouldn't really communicate that to people, and after a while I started to outcast myself, and obviously other people would do the same, but that's like I already understood, and I feel like I just came out like that. Like I came out ready to do these things in the world. And this is okay, and a lot of people will say shit like this. Like some people will call themselves like Set, some people will call themselves Anubis, Horus, whatever the fuck, like go down the list of Egyptian gods. Honestly, like before I even really understood what the fuck I was doing, I was always learning occult type shit, like things that people never wanted to learn. And like I came out feeling like the person who was meant to, like the person who understood God's secrets. And like that's the best way to describe it, and I've only said that because I learned these words a couple months, not a month, but about a year ago, but like a couple months after I was really like understanding of these things. But like I came to start thinking of myself as an archangel, right? And it's like I'm not thinking of my physical body when I say that. Like I'm not thinking of my name, Thomas. I'm not thinking of who I am in this world today. I'm thinking of like where my knowledge has grown to. And it's like, and that's not supposed to, like, I'm not trying to sound cocky or anything when I say that shit, because I obviously don't know shit. I'm sitting in a car and I don't have like like I'm not established in the world. I don't have enough information of this world. But that's what I mean when I say that shit. So it's like I feel like I've been learning these things over and over, like lifetime through lifetime type of shit, and it feels like I've never gotten a break from it as long as I've lived. This is something I talked about to somebody when I first did psychedelics, is like I don't feel like I get rest because of these things, and I feel like I shouldn't. And sometimes I feel wrong for getting rest or trying to take time to myself, because I understand that nobody's really thinking of the right things, and it's not their fault. Like, we're being pushed towards sex, we're being pushed toward drugs and violence and like things to literally separate us from our true being, like the totality of our psyche. Like most people are broken and they just don't say shit. You can look at anybody like, and you can have a good job, you can be stable, nice house, nice family, good dog, like all that shit, no debt. You can be perfectly stable and still hate yourself to the point where you murder your entire, and this is super drastic, but where you murder your entire family and kill yourself after. Like, and I'm sure that's a fucking situation that's happened. It doesn't matter what you have in this world. It matters what you have in this world, in your fucking heart. Like, if you go through your whole life regretting shit, you'll be heavy and you'll die of something. And I'm speaking from first-hand experience. Like, I saw this shit happen to people close to me. People lived terrible lives, never apologized one time for the fucking terrible things that they did. Literally, cancer ate their entire body inside out. I watched a man die on his deathbed, regretting things and not being able to say it because he was in that much pain. And these were the moments that made me really fucking want to help people and really fucking want to let people know that there's more to their psyche than there is to this world, and that we shouldn't be distracted. We should move forward always. We should constantly, and this is not like, this isn't my own message, like this is just what we have to do. And until we do this, and we won't get out of these distractions, we won't, like, We won't be able to have these conversations about the deep subjects that we need to in order to fix these problems that we experience in our society today. And until we, and I'm not like trying to generalize people, I'm trying to like, I'm partially over exaggerating on purpose because you don't understand, or not you, but I personally don't understand every person in the world. And it's, if the problem still exists, then obviously there's no discourse to solving it. Or not the correct discourse, I should say. And I feel like this discourse is always pushed towards aggression and always pushed towards my idea, right? It's my idea over yours. It's not about my opinion anymore, because if I stand behind this group and this ideology, then I have power, because free speech, because things like this doesn't go for one specific community. This goes for literally anything with the following. You look at any celebrity, the amount of power that having 27 million people looking at you has or brings, that's like, you can literally influence society, right? This is why they call them influencers. This is probably nothing new to you. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know why they don't let people see what the fuck is really pissing people off. And like, influencers are the reason why we're distracted. Influencers, marketers, fucking, I don't know, bro. It's like anybody with their own intentions in mind. It's important that someone does what? It's important to wake people up, yeah, but nobody's really woken up. That's the problem. I wouldn't even consider myself woken up like that. It's like, no one person can handle all of the information to wake a person up. You have to, that'd literally be like giving your, well, I guess you can do it, but it's never the same, right? So like, for me personally, X was a person who did that. And obviously X was somebody who had a lot of influence over the youth. But it was like coming to understand symbolism and coming to understand music in a way that was scientific and not like expression. X was the person to like put that in front of my face and really show me that music is something that distracts people instead of healing them. And I talked about this on my other Instagram page, where it's like, we don't have bands who symbolize hope for a community anymore. Like, we don't have a Black Sabbath, we don't have an AC/DC, we don't have a fucking, like, name a band and I can give you somebody who loves that band to their death. Like, we don't have that shit anymore. We don't even have an artist like that. You can say somebody like X or Juice WRLD because they're on a mainstream site, or because they're getting posted everywhere, like a Lil Peep because they have a large following. But it's like, I don't know. We don't have a Bob Marley. Like, we don't have a person who can actually steer us in the right direction, do it without getting a fuck ton of people lost, and still live. Like, every time we get somebody who is ready to do something like that, they get fucking killed or they overdose. Surprisingly. But until we are, I don't know. I hope I get there. I'd like to think I'd get there, but that's not up to me. Ultimately, I can do what I can, but if somebody else takes it, I said this in a song, I think. I said, fucking, if I die, a better man will reside in my place. And that's true. Doesn't matter. Like, as long as I reach one person, it's literally all that matters. because having that discourse is what's important. And until we are able, yeah, I keep saying this shit over and over again because this is like the topic that I came in here with. Yeah. There's so much shit. 3 tabs? This nigga said, damn. I smoked like half a bowl of weed. Speaking of tabs, fucking, here's a mind trip. If you really think about it, if you ever encounter something on a psychedelic trip, like let's say you encounter a hallucination that talks back to you and you have a discussion with it, that's like you can consider that an entity. Some people would consider that an entity. If you look at it as outside of your body, it gets really fucking scary. And you're just like, holy shit, I'm not supposed to be here right now, and you just have a terrible trip. But if you look at it like, this is a chemical gateway to speak to something that exists within chemistry itself and outside of the I guess macular level of life, meaning the things we see as constructed objects, like our phone, like our bodies, things like that. If you look at things on the it's hard to be yourself when you've been shown your entire life the way you should be. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's traumatizing the youth early to dissociate them from themselves, to then implant that idea in them with school. That's like the entire plot. That's that's all it takes is get them while they're young, and then they'll basically grow up like their parents. They'll grow up not correctly breaking down the chemical pathways of their mind and staying stuck in the same DNA cycle that their parents were in. That's why, and I don't mean to like offend people, but that's why if you see one obese family, it's usually the family that's obese and not just one person. But sometimes you can't change that. Like for me, I was always skinny, but my dad was kind of chunky, and my whole family was skinny. My dad was kind of chunky, and that's just because he had health problems. What do you mean, Jesus? This is like shit that I think about. I just get in the car, smoke some weed, and just sit and think. Like, goddamn, all of this shit is just chemicals. Everything that we see is just chemicals and atoms. And some type of chemistry. And our brain, and that's the cool part, because like, there's really pathways in our brains that let us do things that we were not able to do before. One example, adrenaline. If you're pumped up on adrenaline, you can bench probably like 25, 35, 45 more pounds than you could if you weren't. So same situation, like some people say kids see ghosts. Same situation, if you were to like just one day take an acid trip and that thing just opens up in your mind again, and all of a sudden you can see past shit, see past what is really there type shit. That's called the veil, like the Maya in fucking Hinduism. That's like a pathway in your brain, technically. It still exists within the realm of possibilities. So that's why I'm like confused why people don't think psychics are real. Even if a lot of people bullshit psychics and being a psychic, I still think it's possible if you took the time to master it. I still think it's possible if you fucking discovered the chemical pathway in your brain to do so, and you really sat with your brain and fucking learned it. Because it's at the end of the day a tool. We're not our brain. We are bigger than our brain type shit. But yeah. Where the fuck you get 3 tabs of acid though? I've been trying to take acid for like a month now, but I'm scared because last time I did it, bad shit happened. Be very vague with it. I'm mad. The other night, fucking 13 people came in this bitch looking at me light a candle. I was like, what the fuck? I really got on Instagram Live just to record myself. And fucking a bunch of people showed up. I think something that's useful for the discourse that I've been talking about, these conversations that need to be held about serious subjects, one thing that needs to be recognized is we are animals we are, and this is gonna sound super woo woo because people don't understand this level of fucking life yet, but it's like we are energetic beings within animals, and they're vehicles, they're vessels. Our brains are vessels, and every one of our organs are vessels. So it's like, until we can view ourselves as something that's trying to transcend itself, we will only be stuck in our problems, because we won't try to look past our problems. We will only either be distracted by them or put them off. Or if we do try to come up with a solution, we're off in some type of way because we don't have all the information. So until we can bring everybody together, and this sounds like fucking globalism. This is why I said a couple months ago that I kind of agree with globalism in a sense, that we need to somehow bring things together and be able to communicate with everybody, which is partially what the internet does. But anyways, until we are able to do that successfully and on a massive enough scale, we will only experience the same problems that we did before in history. This is the 5th generation of civilization, technically, of humans. In my nigga Yibo, in the Bible, obviously it talks about the 5th generation being the generation to end, being the fall of Babylon, being all of that shit. If we don't pay attention to how the last civilizations ended, meaning if we don't understand the real history, then we won't be able to properly address any of these problems that we experience in this current civilization, in this current society. Because the more and more distance we get, tell me it's lagging a little, that's why people ain't here, but what's up? Oh, fuck. That's fine if it lags, I don't care. This shit always lags. But I feel like it lags at the right parts, though. It cuts out the shit that I wasn't supposed to say. But I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah. Until we're able to view these things as something that we are able to understand on all aspects of life, meaning all type of people, all different areas, all different ways of living, we experience the same problems. And that means if we don't look back at how these same problems came up before, then we will experience the same outcomes. History repeats itself. So like, what was some of the problems in the Roman civilization, right? It was, X is a genius. That nigga dead though. It was things like too many people, not enough power, which is something interesting to think about, because you'd think the Roman civilization was super fucking powerful. And like, if you spread out too far, you tend to not understand how people live in certain areas. Like if I was to just appear in Japan, I wouldn't understand their customs or anything like that. And same vice versa. If somebody from Japan just came here and never seen California, Fuck yeah, we are. And like, honestly, I think it'll come when the fucking economy crashes. If I'm being completely honest, I think this generation will be woken up when we have a real economy crisis again that we have to go through. And we never fucking know. It could happen soon. I'm not gonna speak about it, but it could happen soon. Like, shit, that's a great fucking point though. Like, the Renaissance, that was sparked by art. That was sparked by something other than society having problems, right? Wait, I wouldn't really say that. It was sparked like purely to transcend our problems. It's not to solve them. It was to get past them. It was to look at this like, wow, somebody really put their time and effort into this to create something that expresses something more than him, right? Or more than her, or more than it. Even if it was just bullshit that the artist made up. Like, if fucking, let's say the Mona Lisa was just a throwaway painting or some shit like that. Even if the artist is never recognized. I spoke about this in a song too. I said, what if my efforts are never recognized? Will I still do it, or will I still my ever-racing mind? All that means is, am I really making art to transcend myself, or am I making art to feed my ego? If we can all focus on the transcension, we can all start the Renaissance, pretty much. Like, they're always saying the revolution isn't televised, but nigga, we got Instagram Live. Like, but yeah, it's, countercultures are so important to the main culture too, because if you don't have something to balance out, and one thing is always just there and it's present, and not everybody agrees with it, but it's there, and it's like that. It's like a cloud that looms over everybody, and it's like, you shouldn't see. That's technically socialism. that's like low class communism. Like, don't speak about the fucking governor, or I'll kill you. It's like, without different perspectives, you won't be able to properly function. That goes from the individual to the fucking the collective. And that's how I break down my own psychology. I fucking play doctor on myself. That's probably why I'm fucked up. It's probably why I think about shit like this. But yeah, like, it's necessary to have that counter, even in yourself. So I like to break things down on different scales and different aspects for people to think about. So let's say counterculture is just a inverse perspective on an idea, right? So counterculture of pop music would be punk music. Counterculture of fucking hip hop would be country or something like that. It's like, you get the idea. It's something that is separate but similar. And like, without these separate but similar ideas or thought forms in your own brain, you would let your, I wouldn't necessarily you would let your trauma eat you up, but it'd be like, you don't have a grasp over your perception. So it'd be like, if something happened to you bad, you'd always blame yourself for it, even if it wasn't in your control, just because you perceive something to be as such. Simply that. Like, maybe you're a 5-year-old kid, you fucking break your leg on a bike because somebody ran you off the road. Maybe you blame yourself. You're like, I never saw that person a day in my life. Maybe I was too far on the road. Fuck. And this is kind of like a minor scale thing. But then you're like, shit, if I ever ride my bike again, somebody's going to run me off the road. Now you're stuck with that trauma. But then you're like, oh, maybe it was my fault because I was too far on the road, so I'll just stick closer to the side. And you try again after getting over that fear, and then you fucking break your ankle because you hit the curb and then you twisted wrong or some shit. Now you're like, oh, everything is my fault. I've got a little experience, so I'm not freaking out. Oh, okay, good. I've only fucking... niggas. Gang stalkers, bruh? What's good? Nigga behind me is just chilling. Okay, but I think LSD is a counterculture. Now that I think about it, the LSD community, because you won't get any fucking better conversations from any communities besides LSD, conscious, philosophical, and fucking physics. Physicists. Like, that's the best conversations you'll ever get with anybody. Those 4 groups of people. I forgot what I was gonna say. I'm gonna end this hoe, save it, and repost it just so I can see what was on this bitch. But yeah, I'm out of here. I'm running out of juice. I don't want you guys to see me. Oh no. I'm just playing. I'll catch y'all niggas later.